welcome to AWS OnAir.
I told you I'm excited about this.
We want to help you see the things that are new and launching.
We are throwing you into the deep end.
Day 10. Let's do it.
Hello, everybody. How are you doing? How are you? Hi, it's me. It's your buddy, AM. Hey, I'm AM Grabelny. I'm a developer advocate here at AWS, and you are tuned in for AWS OnAir. And I got one of my best friends in the whole world right there next to me, joining me. Robbie, tell them about you.
Thank you, AM. Very, very kind. And hello, beautiful people. Happy Friday. My name is Robbie Belson. I'm just your friendly neighborhood developer advocate, joined alongside one of our very, very best developer advocates. This guy knows so much more than just things about AWS OnAir, contrary to popular belief. And we're here to tell you more about the latest news, announcements, and launches in and around AWS. And we're lucky today. We've got not one, not two, but 3 launches to cover. Typically, we cover 2, but we're covering 3 here today. And AM and I are sort of going to play host and guest for that 3rd feature, so stay tuned. We've got an amazing segment from our partner, Nvidia. But AM, we're streaming all week long, not just on Fridays, right?
Yeah, well, I think so. I'm still waiting for this fabled one of the best developer advocates to show up. Like, who is Darko coming? I don't know what you mean by that. Anyway, yeah. We definitely, we got all kinds of stuff going on in this channel. If this is your first time on the channel, welcome. Thank you for joining us. I see you out there. I know it's your first time watching. That's why I'm talking directly to you. We cover all the latest launches, features, all the things happening at AWS on this show that you're watching right now on Fridays at noon. However, 12 Pacific. We also cover a bunch of events going on at AWS as well. If you've ever heard of the AWS summits, perhaps Reinforce or maybe reInvent, you never gotten to go, but you wonder what it's like, subscribe to this channel right now, because we are covering all of those as well, and you'll get to inside edition to what's happening at those events as well. Robbie, what do you like about OnAir? Why do you keep coming back here?
Well, in short, it's to hang out with people like you. You know, you've taught me everything I know about developer relations. I became a developer advocate because of folks like you. And yes, I'm embarrassing AM on live television, and I'm proud of it. That's what I meant. And what we find is shows like this inspire that next generation of builders. And so what I love about the show is it's an opportunity to learn. It's an opportunity to ask questions. Ask questions in the chat. We're going to be recapping not just announcements that have happened over the past week, but also over the past month or so, looking back to the AWS Summit from New York that many of us had a chance to visit. All the latest announcements in and around generative AI, of course, we're going to be covering here today. That's what I love most. But I also want to give a shout out to our friends in Canada and our friends in the UK. Thanks for joining us. Hello, hello. Happy Friday.
Well, the audience doesn't know is every time Robbie compliments me, I have to pay him a lot of money over Venmo or something. One of my favorite things, Robbie, is we get to talk with people, right?
Yes.
And the people are streaming in right now. I can see some of the comments coming in. Hey, Jib Jab, how are you? How are you doing today? I appreciate you joining us. Throughout, we want you to be asking questions too. We're going to ask some questions as we learn about these new features, these new services, but we want to ask your questions. And the only way we could do that is if you talk to us. Wow, look at Jib Jab. Also buttering us up, just like Robbie's buttering me up, like I was a dinner roll over here. Better now. I love it. We are better now as well.
I think we should bring out some of our guests. I think it's time.
We got to get to the show, don't we?
We could.
Okay, let's bring in our first guests.
Say hello to the HyperPod team. Welcome.
I told you I'm excited about this.
Welcome to the stream, Mark, Rune. It's great to have you here. I love hearing Kyle's voice, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm excited about
That's one of our hosts, folks. You can't miss him.
All right, let's start with you, Mark. Give us a brief intro. What do you do around these parts?
Yeah, definitely. And thank you guys for having us, and hello to everyone watching. My name is Mark Vinciguerra. I'm a specialist solutions architect at AWS, and I work very closely with Arun here. I'm on the ML frameworks team, and kind of what we do as solutions architects is we help customers adopt, scale, and optimize their ML workloads on AWS.
Cool. Arun, similar intro for you. What? Anything?
Yeah,
Like
yeah. Thanks for having me. Happy Friday to everyone. I am a specialist solutions architect as well, part of the SageMaker team. I focus a lot on helping customers build their large model training and inference workloads on AWS.
Well, I'll tell you, I am not a model trainer, but Robbie was as we were
Mhm.
preparing for the show today. Robbie was you were getting really excited about this one. You seem to know a lot about HyperPod, Robbie.
Well, I just remember back at one of the best things we get to do as hosts here is we get to see the evolution of services. And I remember back at reInvent this year in Las Vegas, just the tail end of last year, we announced flexible training plans. And so this huge pain point as a developer, if I were to train an LLM, maybe
Yep.
AM, smash it together, I can do a play on words better.
No one can train
But
me, Robbie. No one.
If we were training a model, nothing's stopping you from launching a bunch of large EC2 instances and then trying to cobble together the network capacity and then stitch together your model framework of choice. But now you got to think about things like resiliency and how do you take care of model checkpointing? And having never done any of that, that's a bunch of what we would call undifferentiated heavy lifting. So I was super excited to hear about the work that HyperPod was doing to make customers' lives easier for foundation model development. And so I know that we're excited today to talk about both the operator, so making developers' lives who use Kubernetes easier, as well as I've got all this stuff going on. How do I even know what's going on? The observability behind it. So Arun, Mark, maybe for those who haven't experienced HyperPod, when we start to talk about some of those pain points, what did HyperPod purport to solve, and what have you already seen from customers today that make it so powerful?
Yeah. So I guess just a very quick overview of HyperPod. What is it? It's an AWS service purpose-built to allow customers to train and deploy their AI models across tens to hundreds to thousands of accelerators. Can kind of be seen as a managed ultra cluster, if anyone's ever heard of that. And yeah, and it has these cool features, the ones that we're going to be talking about today, including resiliency and out-of-the-box observability. Both these features we've seen with customers trying to train large language models or any other type of large models. When they spin up these thousands of accelerators, like there's prone to be some errors, and this could halt training jobs. It takes a lot of time to train these models. Then you have all your resources being not utilized because the job has to be restarted. So there's a lot of pain points with that. So that's where we're trying to bring in resiliency and see these utilization metrics with the observability.
I think maybe to help put it into more of the world I live in terms, the DevOps world over here, even if you're not training models, even if you're not like well versed in this area, any distributed parallelized workload is going to have challenges, right? Because you're spinning up workloads across all of these, spanning outward instances. So a lot of trouble comes with doing that, right? For operations teams. It sounds like HyperPod is there to alleviate some of the challenges and difficulties. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just to touch base.
Go for it, Arun.
Yeah, just to touch base a little on resiliency, right? So, like, how big a problem is this? Imagine like waking up in the middle of the night, trying to check your training job, which is using thousands of accelerators, to see that fail, and spending time there to kind of identify the root cause and identify the EC2 instance that has failed, and then either replacing that or rebooting that. So, doing all those things. So, HyperPod kind of does an heavy lifting there. So we do two things. One is before we provision the cluster, we make sure the instances are healthy by running deep checks. And during training, we continuously monitor the instances, and we preemptively proactively identify issues and rectify them. So For a user, they need to only focus on the training job that they're building, the code that they're writing, without having to worry about the infrastructure bottlenecks.
Now, Arun, everybody knows about me who's ever watched me host anything. I love to talk. It's probably what I'm most known for doing, and I do too much of it. Speaking of, can we see this? Can we actually take a look as we continue to talk about HyperPod? Maybe we can take a look at some of these new features. Robbie mentioned observability as one of these things. Let's pull up somebody's. Is it Arun? Are you going to be showing us
Yeah.
today the demo? Let's pull up your screen.
Sure. So for this demo, we have an HyperPod cluster that is pre-created, which is using EKS as a backend, and we are using P4D instances, 3 of them for this demo. So we're going to cover 2 of the new launches. One is HyperPod Training Operator. Just to give a bit of background, so Training Operator is a custom Kubernetes CRD that is purpose built for large scale distributed training. When I talk large scale, you can orchestrate jobs with thousands of accelerators using this operator, and we take care of a lot of the stuffs like identifying ang job detection, performance bottlenecks, automatically restarting jobs when there is health issues, and then making sure they resume from the previous checkpoint and so on. So let's look at 2 different things here. So one is, how do I set up this HyperPod training operator, and then how do I launch a job and then quickly show how that works. Setup is pretty easy for both the launches. One is HyperPod training operator. It's an EKS add-on. Just gonna go ahead and set up this add-on from the EKS console. And similarly for the observability, it's an add-on. You can install it with one click from your EKS console. So once you have the add-on set up, we have to define. So there are 2 ways to submit a job. One is through the native Kubernetes mechanism, which we're going to use this for the demo, writing a YAML file and then submitting the job. It's pretty similar to other PyTorch jobs that we are used to submitting. We start with a separate kind or a separate CRD which we have defined for HyperPod training operators, which is a PyTorch training job. And I'll only cover the important pieces here. You can configure log monitoring. This can be used to detect whether your job is hung due to some reasons, or your job doesn't start back within a certain period of time, so that's something wrong that you want to know about. So all this metrics gets captured, and then we can create alerts or triggers so that you get to know when some of this happens in your training job. And rest, it's pretty simple. So you define which script to run, and then all the parameters that your script takes. This is what we want our developers to focus, just to define what they want to run and what are the parameters for the training job. Let's get to the action, right? So already
Yeah, I was
started
going to say,
job.
Arun, let me ask real quick. I think it's pretty rad that these, starting a job just it bakes into. I assume you're about to use the kube control command line, so it could be kind of gnarly having to learn a new tool, right? So I already know kube control. I already know how to run it. I can write a manifest. I'm all good. Pretty bodacious. That that's all I got to learn.
Not to brag or anything.
Hey, but is that what you're going to do? Is you're going to use kube control just to start off one of these jobs?
Exactly. Yeah. So there is another mechanism, which is an HyperPod CLI, which makes it easier for people who don't know Kubernetes, right? So we're not going to use that in the demo, but just for the audience. So we have a HyperPod CLI that makes it much easier. So I already started a job that's running. Let's take a look at the logs. I'm going to quickly explain what all these tabs are. So at the bottom, we see all the running instances. I have 3 P4Ds. They are ready, and then they're running the training job. On the bottom right, these are the 2 Kubernetes pods that are scheduled for the job, as this is running on 2 nodes, 2 P4Ds. And the top right is what I was talking about, our health monitoring agent. This runs on each and every node and makes sure to identify any issues that are part of the node, right? And we are seeing the logs here. The training job is continuing and doing like each step at a time. So to show the fault recovery capability of training operator, let's quickly assume that we have a fault that we are going to inject, and which triggers a node reboot, right? So this is the stuff that I'm highlighting. It's going to do that. It's basically for, for the time limitation, we're just directly pretending that it's kind of a failure has happened and we have identified that a reboot has to be done, right? So once we do this,
And also,
Go ahead, Rob. Oh, sorry, Mark.
yeah, something to add to this. What's pretty cool is the training operator. It restarts at the process level. So instead of restarting the whole job, it's at the process level, which can also mean like pretend you just bought a new car, and you like it, you're driving it, and then you get a flat tire. Instead of having to exchange the whole car because of the flat tire, where it's just exchanging the tire. So you can kind of look at it like that. Search code instead.
I was going to say, HyperPod seems to address resiliency not just at the infrastructure level, right? It can replace, obviously, infrastructure, but it's also addressing the resiliency of the jobs that are running on that infrastructure, which I think is really nice.
yeah, it could have noticed that I injected a failure, a node got replaced, and then the training is automatically continuing from the previous checkpoint. What happened, like Matt mentioned, we did a process level restart, so that removes a lot of overhead, especially at hundreds of accelerated scale. So this is going to come back up again within like a couple of minutes. So if you see the checkpoint is getting loaded here. Let's go back to our screen and let's talk about the dashboards. So while the training is continuing, there's a lot of things that we can observe. Mark's going to cover that.
Yeah. So observability is just generally an important tool. If you have these clusters, you want to make sure that your training jobs and your inference jobs are being efficiently utilized, utilizing its resources. You want to make sure there's no disruptions. And if you have a bunch of teams, you want to make sure that they're running their jobs across your cluster efficiently. So this is where the observability comes in. We have a one-click observability tool built into HyperPod, where it's like an add-on. You click it, and then you get these pre-configured dashboards. So you can see we have inference, training, file system, cluster, and task dashboards. Quickly, let's go into the cluster dashboard. So you can see there's no configuring, just this one button, and then you have all these metrics for your whole cluster. If your cluster were to scale, it would scale with your cluster as well. You could filter. If you look at the top of the screen, you filter by your cluster, cluster ID, the instances. You can look at it at the GPU level as well. So this is GPU memory utilization, GPU utilization, and even the CPU as well. And at the bottom, you see we include EFA metrics too. Make sure you have that high bandwidth, low latency throughput. And it's pretty. It's a pretty dashboard.
Look, I mean, I got to point out here, I think it's really great that you all offer an out-of-the-box experience for people with observability in mind already, because you don't know what's going on. You can't go to your dashboards. You can't figure out what's happening in your cluster. It's pretty grody to the max, if you ask me. However, a lot of people are already, in the world of observability. They have dashboards. They have things. I'm looking. Obviously, this looks like Grafana. If I want to integrate into other tools, right, to help me with observability, perhaps, am I right to assume Prometheus is sitting under here collecting the metrics?
Yeah, we have Amazon managed Prometheus collecting the metrics. Generally, you can, of course, install your own tools. The point of HyperPod is you can make it customizable, but we manage the infrastructure layer for you, so it's not too operationally challenging. So you can install your own observability tools as well. And for this solution, we use Amazon Managed Prometheus and Amazon Managed Grafana.
Nice. Very nice.
So we only have about 2 minutes left. I think it's important to recap here, because for folks tuning in who haven't worked with Kubernetes, who are just simply using foundation models out of the box and haven't had a chance to train, I think it sounds like some of the key takeaways are Saving time is saving money. Maximizing resiliency and recovering to a checkpoint faster means less time training the model, which means more money back in your pocket. And so making it easier for developers using the frameworks they love, the likes of Amazon EKS, taking HyperPod, which you could use today, and now use it in a different way orchestrated through EKS and this operator. It sounds like more choice, more resiliency, more time saved, more efficiency. I think that's pretty cool.
That's poetry.
What? That wasn't the intent, but I'll take the compliment. To close out here, though, I think folks are going to want to they're going to want to see that one-click deployment, just like you showed us with that EKS add-on. Where do they go to get started? What do you recommend?
Yeah, so I'd recommend our workshops. So HyperPod can be orchestrated by Slurm or Kubernetes. We have a workshop for both. If you want to get started with the training operator right away, I would definitely look at the workshop. You could just Google HyperPod EKS workshop. Should be there. Rune, I don't know if you have the tab open, but yeah, easy to find too.
Yeah.
I love a great workshop. Takes you step by step, and you get what you need at the end of it. Even if you're a total space cadet like me, you can get right to where we were, seeing all those beautiful dashboards just by following that.
We're asking for a link to the workshop in the chat. We can post that in the chat. Our lovely producers will do so shortly, so you can develop on SageMaker HyperPod just like Arun and Mark. I know one thing. While we wait for the chat, I think we got a chance for maybe one more question, and that is, of course, for the purposes of the demo, we didn't show the creation of the cluster itself. Is the operator itself, like, do you create like a Kubernetes manifest that says, hey, give me a cluster with these instances, and then the operator translates those requirements into the cluster, or do you still create the HyperPod cluster the normal way?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we still create the cluster the normal way. So the operator comes only after the cluster is created, right? So we install it as an add-on and then use that for training our ML models.
Cool. Arun, Mark, thank you both for joining us. We gotta move on to our next segment, unfortunately.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
With you all day. We'll see you next time.
See you.
All right, Robbie. It's just you and me again. Sorry, that's not really threatening. I don't know why I went for threatening.
I think I'm feeling the hostility from the love I showered you with earlier in the show. I just want to be friends, and I get it. I get it.
I was reading the stage direction, Robbie. It said threaten Robbie. It's weird. I think Nick must have put that in. Speaking of Nick, he would want us to tell you right now that we have a survey, right, Robbie?
Absolutely. We got a survey. We want to hear what you want to see from the show, different segments, topics, stage directions to AM that you want to see optimized. The first 50 builders, you have an AWS Builder ID. Fill out the form. Let us know how we're doing, and you can get $20 in AWS credits.
If you want to shower Robbie in praise like he did at the beginning of the show for me, I think that would be very nice to him. That would be a way to pay it forward.
If you got great feedback, my name is Robbie. If you've got terrible feedback, remember, my name is AM. Exactly.
It's not even a name, dude. Like, what are you talking about? AM. That's not even that's letters. All right, yeah. So fill out that survey, please. It really helps us with the show to make it better for you.
So our next segment, yeah. You want to tell us about our next segment, AM? I know we're talking generative AI, but now we get to talk physical AI.
Physical. I am physical AI. That's who are we talking about? Me. No, we're talking about Nvidia. We're gonna have our friend Ali from Nvidia come join us. Yeah.
Let's bring on our friends at Nvidia. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Ali, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
Please tell us about yourself. Tell the audience, what do you do for Nvidia?
Yes, well, nice to be here. My name is Ali Sharakni. I'm a developer relations manager at Nvidia, dedicated to the AWS developer community. And my background is in computer vision. And I'm here today to talk to you about physical AI and Nvidia Omniverse.
I already like this. Episode segment. We've got 3 developer advocates, 1 show, 10 minutes to cover everything you could need to know about Omniverse and the integration with OpenUSD. Challenge accepted. We've got to start with what Omniverse is for developers who haven't had a chance to interact with 3D scenes. What is it? How did developers use it today? And what were some of the pain points that motivated your team to start to think about looking at new data formats?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me start by saying that generative AI basically revolutionizes around $100 trillion industries. And you can think about knowledge enterprises that use agentic AI to automate digital work. But in the industrial enterprises, use physical AI to automate physical work. And the physical world embodies different types of robots. For example, you have self-driving cars that are actually robots, and they can safely navigate around us. We have manipulators that would perform complex tasks in factories, or humanoid robots that would actually collaborate alongside us both in industries and also at home. And even plants and factories, you can think of those as robots, and they can basically talk to us or monitor themselves and notify us of any alerts, right? So these are the scope of physical AI, and that's way beyond what LLMs would do. Like, they are basically focused on text, and most recently we've seen like images and videos. But going to physical space, that's actually a whole new level of complexity, right? It involves understanding the physical world, the 3D aspects of it, moving objects, humans, etc., and interacting with those, right? So that's way more complicated. And also another level of complexity is that, like, with respect to, like, say, ChatGPT and LLMs, there is a vast corpus of data that is human recorded and is readily available, like Wikipedia, audio, video, etc., right? That they can that actually these models can use those to learn. But for physical AI, we don't have that. Unfortunately, we don't have that luxury. So it's very important to be able to generate synthetic data that would enable these physical AI models to learn about the world and interact with it. So that's where Omniverse comes into play. So Omniverse is a platform for synthetic data generation, for simulating robots, training them. It's like a gym for robots, if you will. And also for digital twin of factories or warehouses or hospitals, etc. So it allows you to monitor those and simulate them, optimize them, like from all the stages, from, say, design, simulation, build, operation, and also optimization of all those plants, factories, I know, like railway lines, etc. So all of that, basically, you can leverage Omniverse to generate synthetic data for, and train and test.
I mean, Ali, can I make an analogy, perhaps? One of my favorite physics simulations are video games, basically. And, you know, you have to simulate all of real world things, like if you jump, you fall, there's gravity, things like that, right? It sounds like with Omniverse, you're doing the same thing for testing out how whatever you're building is going to perform in the actual physical world. And instead of spending, you know, lots of money, or perhaps, you know, you're trying to test something that's not even physically possible to test, instead you can create, you know, digital representations of whatever you're building or whatever you're trying to test, place it into this simulation, and then you can even generate, like you said, synthetic data to come in and test these different scenarios. Is that kind of what you're talking about with Omniverse? Am I off base?
I like your analogy, AM, and as you might know, Nvidia knows a thing or two about gaming. So
I sure do. Yeah.
That's actually how it all started, in fact. So yes, so physics and simulation of physics is a great aspect of all of that, of course, when it comes to physical AI and robotics and factories, etc. And that's a big component of it. And the nice thing about Omniverse is that it's not a product, it's not a tool. It's a platform. It enables collaboration between different software tools, as long as they're OpenUSD compatible, which we can get to next. But so basically, it enables collaboration, enables like communication between different platforms, different products, enables collaboration between different engineers, designers, and users. And you can bring your own physics solver. You can use the one that Nvidia provides. So it's all like enables a lot of opportunities.
Now I wanna get to one of the questions in the chat here around capture methods, and then I want to talk a little bit about OpenUSD while we're here today. But first, question from the chat from professional gamers: what capture method does Omniverse support? I think like AMRs in the context of mobile robots, maybe.
It was AMR is like autonomous mobile robots. Yes. So yeah, I think all of those are supported as long as you can, of course, convert them to OpenUSD format, which is an open source format developed originally by Pixar. And it's been adopted widely across many industries. There's an OpenUSD Alliance. Amazon Robotics and Amazon are actually part of those. The founding members are like Apple, Adobe, Autodesk, Nvidia, and I think I'm missing one. Did I mention did I mention Apple? Anyway, there are 5 founding members, and yeah, it's growing, and it's always under development and research. And we have connectors to Siemens or Autodesk or Adobe to import the assets from their software to Omniverse, and and then of course LiDAR, RGB, all of those, like Gaussian splats, all of that is supported as well.
So a quick search suggests that OpenUSD has been around for quite some time, to the tune of almost a decade. Was there like a shift in the world of generative AI or physical AI that motivated your team to really look at in the context of Omniverse? What were developers asking that motivated your team to really think about in the context of using Omniverse as that way to sort of work on 3D assets together? And can you maybe give us like a practical example that brings this to life? Like AM and I want to build the next movie or some sort of 3D manufacturing of this, let's see, Planet Genesis.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, this AM. Like we want to build some sort of 3D scene together, a movie, and we want to collaborate. How would we use OpenUSD and Omniverse? What would that look like?
Yeah, great question. So I think your first question was, sorry, can you remind me?
Like why now? So if OpenUSD has been around for a while.
Got it. Yeah, so actually that's a great question, and it's thanks to 4 things coming together. One of them is OpenUSD, as you mentioned, the foundation of collaborative 3D asset sharing and generation. And then the other aspect of it is there's a quality of rendering, so RTX and GPU rendering capabilities that can create very realistic high definition scenes, right? And then the other aspect is thanks to AWS, for example, you have available a massive compute, democratized, that can be leveraged to generate data at scale that can be used to train these robots and digital twins. And then the other aspect is like all of these, like generative AI, of course, contributing to the need for the next level of interaction with the physical world. So all of those factors together very recently have contributed to the great need and demand in synthetic data generation for physical AI training. But as you said, the OpenUSD has been around, but I think since like 2020 has been integrated into Omniverse as a foundational format for collaboration. Yeah. So
Ollie,
and then
we're gonna run out of time before we actually even get to see anything. Can we pull up your screen and can you show us a little bit more too as we
sure, and then we can talk about examples as we and then So actually, I would recommend to the audience here is to go to build.nvidia.com, and you can see all of these models available, and you can play with them, you can download them and deploy them on AWS. There are instructions that my capable colleague Alex would also post in the chat for how to deploy Omniverse and Isaac Sim for synthetic data generation, specifically on AWS. So here you can see a blueprint, what we call blueprint. So again, it's not a final product; it's just a reference architecture that you can get started with. It's you can think of it as a launchpad for you to like develop your own custom applications on top of it. So a very modular API, like microservice based architecture. You can see here, and you can easily kind of connect it to a lot of AWS services like S3, like TwinMaker, like Sitewise to get all the sensory like dashboards available to you readily, and integrating all of that together as your digital twin infrastructure and work and workflow. So this is basically showing you how you can build a digital twin of a data center. And let's have a look at. Just need to reload this. and you can of course play with that yourself on your end.
Oh,
So
wow.
this is a model of a data center using Nvidia Blackwell GPUs and racks, and you can have different views. And so all of that is actually simulated live on the cloud servers. So, and then you can actually simulate different things. You can see what happens if the temperature and the workloads are. I don't know if you can see this. That the workload changes, and what the effect of that would be on the temperature of the data center and the racks. So you can optimize the design of your data centers thanks to this feature, and you can play with different parameters, different configurations, and you can do a lot of analysis and see different coolant failure simulations, and so you can
Ollie, this is great. This is amazing. I mean, for somebody who does not live in this world at all, I've never created a digital twin in my life. I tried a digital, what do you call it? Digital twinning with Robbie, but he wouldn't wear a t-shirt with me. He said button down only. Unfortunately, we are going to run out of time here. I do want to make sure everybody, I loved learning alongside you. Ollie, thank you so much for coming on. I want to make sure you have a chance to give people, you told them to go to build on Nvidia.
build.nvidia.com, yes.
Where else should they go to get started with Omniverse?
Yeah, so there's also a link to get started on AWS that Alex, my colleague, has I think shared in the chat. So please check it out. It should be very easy. You can download these blueprints. I don't know if you can see the other tab I'm showing right now, maybe not. But yeah, so there's for these blueprints, some of them are under preview mode still, but some of them are actually available for download. You can download and launch them on your EC2 instances.
Very cool. All right. Thank you so much for joining us today, Ollie.
My pleasure.
This was enlightening for me. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
you. Ollie.
Cool. I see in chat, DJ, my man Eric, is they have a digital twin. How do you create a digital twin for yourself? I'm intrigued. I'm interested.
I don't know, but I know Ollie would have said that you can run Omniverse today on a number of our accelerated compute-based EC2 instances, like a G5 or G6-based instance, great for simulation. And I think, it sounds like that blueprint, it said something like not available yet, but I know what's available today. You can run Omniverse on our EC2 instances today. I used Omniverse, for instance, to model RF propagation of cell sites. It's super cool.
Yeah, you've got all that telco background, right? You know how some of this stuff works. This is I don't exist in the physical world at all, Robbie. So it's a treat to get to pretend for a minute that I know what it's like out there in the physical world. All right, if you are just joining us, welcome to the show. You have no idea what you just tuned in for, do you? This is AWS On Air. This is our Friday show. It starts at 12 p.m. Pacific every Friday, just about. And we cover the latest and greatest from AWS and our friends. Robbie, what would you add there?
I would add that we're lucky today because we're covering not 2, but 3 launches alongside our friends and partner from Nvidia. And as part of our next segment, so we started with generative AI and thinking about abstracting away the undifferentiated heavy lifting, all things managing accelerated compute capacity. Okay, great. Now we talked about physical AI and managing the world of 3D simulation. Let's go back to that world of LLM. No matter how that LLM is trained, we want to reduce hallucinations. We want to maximize accuracy. We want to make sure that if they say that Nick is the host of today's on-air show, that would be wrong. That would be logically and factually inaccurate. But how can you verify that? How can you prove that? We're going to demystify that with you by bringing on the folks that brought automated and reasoning checks on Amazon Bedrock to life. And with that, let's bring on our special guests.
I told you, I'm excited about this.
That stinger every time, it makes me laugh. Hey, Stefan.
Hey, folks.
Wale, how are you both? I'm sorry, I got to pull myself together after that. I love
Great.
hearing Kyle. All right, let's get to business. Stefano, please introduce yourself to the people at home.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Stefano. I'm a product manager in the automated reasoning group at AWS.
All right.
Wally?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Wale. I'm a senior data scientist, generative AI in the Bedrock GTM team, and I work with Stefano on automated reasoning. So excited to be here.
Yeah, I am excited for you all to be here too. I was actually reading. I want to credit the right person for this. I'm going to pull it up real quick. Byron Cook. I don't know if you are colleagues
familiar.
with Byron. I was reading. Byron put out a blog post a few days ago called 3 Challenges in Machine-Based Reasoning on the Amazon Science blog, which read through it, it's incredible, right? And I think it's a lot about how you all were building and solving the issues around automated reasoning. A lot of philosophical discussions in there, but let's start and I might make some references to that article just because I think it's very interesting, and I'll drop a link in chat for everybody too, so that they can go check that out. But with automated reasoning, right? Robbie mentioned it's in use around guardrails. It's to help with LLMs hallucinating. What is it though? What does automated reasoning mean?
Yeah. So automated reasoning is a branch of artificial intelligence. Part of that science has been around for a long time. At Amazon, we've been using it for over 10 years behind the scenes to power lots of features in AWS. The definition that Byron would give you is that automated reasoning is the algorithmic search for new mathematical proofs. Automated reasoning builds tools that, given a description of some knowledge in formal logic, in mathematical logic, and a query to that knowledge, like, will this ever happen? Is this possible? Will either tell you this, yes, it's possible, create an entirely new mathematical proof that shows why, no, this will never be possible, given these parameters. Or in some cases, tell you there isn't enough compute power in the universe to decide this, because it is built to deal with NP-complete or undecidable problems. And as we were talking to customers, newsflash, everybody's concerned about hallucinations, right? We all know that. But in particular, when we talk to customers that operate in regulated industries, what they tell us is it's not just the hallucination itself. For us, it's the explainability. If we say something right or we say something wrong, we need to know why. And we have to have some kind of auditable way to prove when regulators come asking why we said that and why we thought it was right. And that was kind of the superpower of automated reasoning, right? We can give you a mathematical proof that something is right or wrong. And so that started a spark. We said, we know how to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's look, I mean, I'm very well versed in the deterministic nature of writing code, right? Like you write the code, you run the function does exactly, sometimes to your detriment, exactly what you define. Whereas working with a lot of the LLMs here, it's completely
a strange world,
right? It's completely different than that. So predicting or proving like how a conclusion was reached is just very difficult in some cases.
That's right. I always tell customers, we and most people will never be able to explain why the LLM said what it said, but we can explain exactly why it's correct and give you the mathematical proof of why that is.
It's the same problem a lot of people face with me. They can't determine why I said what I said, and can't prove why.
But by the way, if you are developer minded and you want another great article from Byron, if you search, he has an article called Gentle Introduction to Automated Reasoning that just explains how it's used in the context of development. It's a great read. Now
we're going to talk about how we get to this mathematical reasoning and formal logic. I don't know. Maybe during that, should we have Wale's screen pulled up so we can see some of that as well? I mean, we're jumping into the demo faster here, but I think it makes a lot more sense when you can see.
Let's get to that.
Okay, cool. All right, Wale, tell us about this. What are we looking at?
So we're currently looking at a chatbot that uses automated reasoning. So I think Stefano sort of mentioned the idea that for automated reasoning, what we're trying to do is making sure that we find mathematical proof for us to tell you with certainty is the response, is it valid based on the logical representation of your policy? Is it valid? Is it invalid? Is it satisfiable? And we give you some explainability to that. Now, in this chat, what we're trying to do is have a question, like a query, and a response, and allow automated reasoning, which is part of Bedrock guardrails, to intervene, some sort of intervention where you can say, okay, this is invalid. I need to rewrite the response to the correct response based on that policy. So I'm going to test this out now live. And also, apologies, everyone. I'm looking up because my screen is up. So this is a mortgage policy and this is really great because I think a lot of folks maybe they've shopped for house or they're planning to. And the idea here is that the policy has information on how you qualify for mortgage. So things around what down payment is needed, what's the credit score, and so many information. Now, let's say you have a bot that actually guides customer through that process, and you say, this query is, I'm planning to purchase a home that is about 300 grand with a conventional mortgage. What's the minimum down payment? And then let's say we have an incorrect response, especially since we know LLM sometimes hallucinate when it comes to numbers. So let's say it's an incorrect response that says that the minimum down payment for your purchase is $5. So basically, I think, Rob, if you have $5 now, I don't know, maybe you can buy a house or so. And so what you have here now is the response where it comes here and say, actually, with a conventional mortgage, the minimum down payment that is required is this number, which represents 20% of the purchase, right? So which means that this response is incorrect, and it has actually has this corrected response for policy compliance. And to show the policy reasoning details behind that, so if I click on this, it is where the automated reasoning results, actually where you find this. It comes back and say, actually, based on the policy that you've created, this response is invalid. And then it comes and tells you why it's invalid. It takes your question, it translates it into logical representation, and then it also shows you that explainability that Stefano's talking about, where it actually gives you the formal expression, so logical representation of the contradicting rules, and also the natural language that says, actually, if the down payment is less than 20%, in this case, you can only get an insured mortgage, right? Not a conventional mortgage.
So I can see why you both were talking about this being very useful in regulated industries as well, right? Because I think, and please correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like one of the best use cases to use this is when you have a very clearly defined policy, right, that you can then turn into formal. If you have maybe an unclear policy or policies that contradict, right, you've got one line that contradicts completely a different line in your same policy, you might have some more challenges when trying to build automated reasoning into this. Is that fair?
Totally, that's right. If your document, your policy document originally contains contradictions, all you'll get out of our system is impossible. And we'll tell you these two rules contradict each other. There's nothing we can do about this validation. And you have to go fix it.
So just for the folks tuning in home, I think there's two things that are important. The one, all the identifiers here and this whole sort of breakdown of the formal logic that you see here is based on a policy document that the user has to upload that we'll see here shortly. And two, the chat that we were seeing above isn't necessarily between Robbie and the mortgage bot. It's between the mortgage bot and the mortgage bot. We're trying to intercept requests to see how good are its answers. That isn't what the user would then see. So we're showing almost like the behind the scenes of how it works. So then in turn, you could implement and block that response. I just wanted to clarify that for the audience.
No, that's right. And that's a good clarification. Automated reasoning checks. It's slightly different from a traditional guardrail where you just block an answer. We give feedback. And you take that feedback and you can iterate with your LLM. And depending on how complex you want your policy to be, we can get quite persnickety in saying that something is valid.
And I think that parlays nicely into another question that we saw in the chat. So I think it's easy to think that, like extracting this confidence score and rules would come from a separate LLM. So the question in the chat says, if I wanted to use different large language models, one for just the chat, and then one for like the policy evaluation, isn't the whole point here You don't have to think about any underlying foundation model to do this. This is a fully managed service, so you don't have to hire formal logic experts like AM to decipher how your policies work.
That is correct. And you can also use it with any LLM because Bedrock Guardrails is compatible with obviously every single LLM that exists in Bedrock. But also you can bring your own natural language content, call our apply guardrail API, and we'll give you the validation output on that.
And
we
you're
don't
not
care where it comes from.
And you're not selecting an LLM to do
That's
the
right.
automated reasoning, which is the question, I think, here.
That's right.
Exactly.
Maybe now's a good time, Wally, to hop over to the Bedrock console. What do you think? We can maybe see setting up some of this stuff, what that looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. I think maybe before I go into the mortgage policy that I already created, let's go to automated reasoning and see how do you create a policy. And so the idea here is that you come, you select, you put the name of the policy here, and then you add the source content. Now, this source content is your natural language representation of ground truth, right? Which is this document. And so you can upload it. Currently, you can have a document up to 80,000 tokens, so roughly about 100 pages. And also you can add more documents to a policy if you want. And then the next step is to describe the source content. So in this case, this is where you explain the use case, you have the format of the content, and also you provide some example validation. And the idea here is that translation from your document to logic representation, this actually aids that. So when you give us that, we actually have much better translation. And then after that, that's it. You just come and you create policy, and that's it.
We've got an interesting question from chat from TOVG. No clue how to pronounce it. So sorry, TAOVG. I just spelled it out for you. The issue is language is fuzzy, right? That's absolutely a huge issue. So even though you've got a document with a well-defined policy, what can you do to improve when you're having this policy? So I assume, maybe incorrectly, but hopefully not, that you can actually edit some of the formal logic that gets generated by this.
Totally. Yeah, let's, well, if you want to switch to show the policy, you're absolutely right. Natural language, like any policy document you'll find, best case scenario, it's underspecified and ambiguous. Very often you'll find that it's contradictory. And the way we want you to look at it, you can obviously look at the policy rules there. And, you know, if you have the mind of a logician, you can think about the conjunction of all the rules. But the easier way to do it, if you go to the tests, where you can create kind of like unit tests for this policy, is we generate scenarios. We take those rules and we deterministically generate a concrete example saying, hey, based on the rules we generated, we think this is possible. Do you agree with us? And you just tell us yes, no. And based on that feedback, we try and deduce changes to the rules.
Wow, that's really handy. So you don't even have to have the mind of a formal logician. Is that?
It's very hard for people to reason about the conjunction of all the rules. Like for us to say valid, or I should probably introduce that. We live and die and care obsessively about the soundness of the system. And what we mean by soundness is that if we say valid, you take it to the bank. We mean it. That's what we truly care about. And so we really want to say valid for the right reasons. And analyzing the semantics encoded in the policy this way is the best path to get you there, to make sure that the policy is correct.
I think that's another one of the strengths too, and we may talk about this in a bit, but you know, the different results, right? There's valid and invalid, of course, but there's also other results that can happen. I know I was reading about one of them in that article that Byron wrote that I linked earlier about unknown, right? If you have completely impossible to figure out, like I believe the example he uses is if you put into your policy that it is determined by the outcome of the automated reasoning tool itself, that's impossible to ever figure out. So you can
it will say impossible. Or if your the premises you laid out, like I have this much money, contradict one of the rules that says you must have more than this much money, we will say this is impossible. You need to go back to your user and tell them you just can't do this. It can't happen in this world.
Very interesting. Very interesting. All right. Wally, where were we about to go check out next?
Yeah, I think So I'm actually showing the different tests that Stefano was talking about, and I think you mentioned impossible, which you can get. Also, you can get translation ambiguous, but also in this case we have valid, invalid, and satisfiable. So an example of valid is this case where you're sort of asking a question that you have the house and you plan to put. The house is valued at 350 grand. You plan to put 30 grand as down payment. And the correct answer, it is correct because it's telling you that conventional mortgages are only available when the down payment is 20% of it. And also you'd see, in this case, you have the supporting rules that actually support it. And you can see this is a natural language sort of explanation of the logical representation of that rule. The other one that you can also get is the satisfiable, right? And so the idea for satisfiable is that, and if I come here and click here, is that it will give you a possible true and false scenarios. And so these ideas that if you have, if you're testing, if you have a use case, it will tell you, okay, these are actually the scenario that represents a case where the claim is true. And also you have the one where the claim is false.
Robbie,
Satisfiable basically means incomplete.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There's still a chance that adding additional details might make that answer invalid. So those assignments you see there say, hey, you need to be explicit about these things. There's kind of unstated assumptions in your Q&A.
Robbie, we had another question. Do you have it? I think it was from the Dark Bite that I.
There's so many, it's hard to keep up.
It's
question or comment, 100% need that. And then there was another comment from PAG Super, all caps, Superman.
Nick put it up on screen for us, actually.
Yeah.
Does the audit trail show the underlying LLM that was being used when one of these automated reasoning policies are in use?
I'm going to be the automated reasoning guy and say that that's an ambiguous question, but let me clarify. I'll answer one version of it and then tell me if I got it right. You're asking us which LLMs we use to do this natural language to logic translation of the Q&A.
And do they show it?
That's right. No, we don't show that. We also don't just use one LLMs. We use multiple LLMs at the same time and compare the translations of each one for consistency. And that's how we detect ambiguity. And we tell you the question is ambiguous. In our experiment, we found that LLMs are actually very good at pointing out ambiguity by disagreeing with each other on the possible translation.
I interpreted that question. You are right. You are the automated reasoning. I interpreted that completely differently, meaning like when an automated reasoning policy was in use with, I was using, let's just say Claude, right?
Yeah.
And will it list,
Oh, I see.
that Claude was in use when this was determined to be valid or invalid?
We don't, because we don't know. Like, you use your LLM, whatever you want. You could use your own self-hosted model if it was. All you do then is what we do, generate a content call apply guardrail, and we'll give you this feedback.
Okay. I think the Dark Bite was asking, because the Dark Bite has put now legally required to document what LLM and version was used to generate responses. So it sounds like you interpreted it the correct way. Okay. With your answer.
Yeah, that would be your LLM, the Dark Bite. Like whatever you use, we don't interfere with that. We don't care.
And I think that's a perfect segue into the rest of the demo here, Wally. In the next minute or so remaining, I think there's a key question around customers have probably used like the Bedrock chat playground or the Converse API, ask an LLM a question in Bedrock, and then you get an answer back. And some developers have used guardrails where you can filter out specific words and do things like content filters and sensitive information filters. So how does automated reasoning checks apply to guardrails and interact with your, say, traditional use of just like Bedrock chat or the Converse API?
Okay. Well, I can show you.
Yeah, I can take that. So automated reasoning in Bedrock guardrails. So currently, we know in Bedrock guardrails, we have different configurable safeguards, so contextual grounding and word filters. So automated reasoning is also one of those safeguards. And one of the ways is that if you create a guardrail, so let's say we want to create a guardrail called test, for example, and then I click next. If I go to automated reasoning, I can enable automated reasoning policy as one of the policies on guardrails. So if I click on this, I can then select my confidence threshold for the translation. And then I can select the, in this case, mortgage policy, and then click next, and that's it. And so the idea is that you can use automated reasoning in guardrails but also you can use the apply guardrail API to use automated reasoning on your application, because the apply guardrail API is actually is not dependent on if you're using maybe a Bedrock model or a model outside Bedrock. Actually, it's agnostic to whatever input and output that you have.
And if I can wait 20 more time of your time, there's one clarification that's worth adding. The different policies you see in guardrails there, for example, deny topics and PII, they have different mode of operation. You can tell, I want you to block the content, or I just want you to detect and give me the feedback. Automated reasoning checks only operates in detect mode. So we're not going to block the content, because obviously our feedback is quite nuanced and complex. It's for you to use with your LLM. You'll just get the output alongside the response.
Okay.
Well, Robbie, I think we might be at time, huh?
I think we are, but I think this is so important to how developers are going to be using language models in production, and such a tremendous leap forward, and being able to make sure that you're providing customers the most accurate and verifiable information based on the policies that you create. So congratulations on the launch. Wale, Stefano, welcome on the show anytime. We can't wait to see what you build, and thanks so much for joining us on air.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. And just like that, we're at one of my favorite parts of the show, actually. Do you like the repost section of the show, Robbie?
I love to say yes. Of course, but I'm almost thinking it's a great use case for automated reasoning. As you get some of these answers, and developers want to know, how do you know that you're right? I mean, this could be a really great way and great use case. So I've got my first question to the Repost team is, how could automated reasoning play a role in some of the responses that are generated? But I'll leave that for them to answer. And before we get to Repost Live, I know that typically we have the one and only Jeff Barr break down some of the latest news announcements, and our producer Nick thought it'd be a great idea for us to cover one of the exciting launches from this week. So I guess, we have no choice but to buckle up and try to do that. You want to maybe give us a few highlights, and specifically one of the launches that we wanted to cover today?
Yeah, Nick told us emphatically we were supposed to give a shout out to Amazon Application Recovery Controller, which now supports a region switch. I'm going to be honest with you. I have not used the Amazon Application Recovery Controller before. Have you, Robbie?
I haven't, but man, this is cool. I was reading the launch blog, and we'll put it in the chat here for folks to take a look. I think we were talking about resiliency, and that's clearly really important, not just for training foundation models, but everything you build in the cloud. And when you think about resiliency, it's not just multiple availability zones. You think about multiple regions for your disaster recovery strategy. And what Application Recovery Controller Region Switch in particular does really well is they have this idea of specifically plan evaluations. Yes. And when you can start to think about centralized control and real-time recovery dashboards through this concept of execution blocks. So you can say, like, hey, I had this auto scaling group, which how I manage compute, or an EKS cluster, or an Aurora database that's running in a region, and then orchestrate it through another region to maximize resiliency in an impacting event. It will help you think about how you were to transition to primary resources operating in another region. They offer human in the loop intervention. So you can have a human say, yes, go ahead and execute that change, and how you orchestrate what were to happen through not just one resource, but compute, networking, databases, all through one single pane of glass. Huge shout out to the team that developed that. And we'd love to have them on in a future episode.
Yeah, I'll say, multi-region architectures are important when you need them, right? But, just go out and validate your workload and the fault tolerance that it can accept, right? So if you can get by with availability zones, maybe you don't need multi-regions. But if you do need multi-region, sounds like this new launch will help you plan for that a little bit easier.
And I can't think of a better question to prime our AWS Repost team than, what is a recovery plan from Application Recovery Controller Region Switch? With that,
shall we welcome Stephen and Chris?
Let's do it.
Cowabunga, dude. How's everybody doing? Thanks, AM and Robbie, for the intro and the love, and also throwing us a hardball question to start off the segment. Thank you for that. I'm Steven. I'm your senior technical account manager coming to you from Philadelphia today. Today, I am joined by my co-host,
Snoochie Boochies. I'm Chris Thomas. I'm the producer for the weekly AWS Repost live show. Always happy to be here and joined by my good friend and colleague, Steven.
As Chris said, we're the host of the regular weekly live stream AWS Repost Live, diving deep into the user-submitted questions, providing technical solutions to our Repost community. And if you haven't yet, be sure to fill out that survey, hit that survey in the link in chat to get $50, 50, in AWS credits. We've really upped our game this week. I hope you're heading happily into your weekend. My weekend is almost here, and I'm excited. But Chris, we've got some stuff we're covering today, right?
We got quite a few things that we're covering today, honestly. And, you know, as we always do on Repost Live and as we always do represent ourselves on this show, we have some things on Repost. If you're not on Repost already, we'll share the link, but go over there, sign up today using your AWS account ID or your builder ID. Yeah. A plethora of information. But as we were just talking about automated reasoning, easy enough for us to just continue that conversation. And so while I have my screen shared here, we're taking a look at this post from Andrea asking, how can I access automated reasoning checks preview for guardrails? So this was asked a few months ago, and I love when we're able to do this of like, well, wouldn't you know, here's how you access it today from today's launch announcement.
Yeah, like it's a great question to start with, right? So this did originally start in preview, right? You know, we do that for services, features we launch, and sometimes they're in limited preview, and then we kind of grow that. We don't necessarily put a public preview that anybody can take advantage of. Sometimes we do. So that wasn't the case for this one. So now this is generally available for everybody. It's been released. So now Andrea and others are able to dive right in and take advantage of that. So if you haven't yet, head over, start taking a look at that. I think the presentation by Stefano and Wale earlier, just before us, right? That was great. I actually learned a few things while they were doing that as well. So definitely go on and check that out.
Yeah, and I'll follow up in this post from Andrea with some of the documentation here about how to get started and where to find these things today. So Andrea and others who check out this article will be very happy. But we'll continue right along since I know we're pretty short on time. I thought that this was a pretty interesting question from, I think it's pronounced Arcana. Automated reasoning can be used in tandem with contextual grounding for more rigorous and verifiable approach to make sure that your LLM generated output is factually accurate. So that seems pretty interesting here, where they're asking about how to use contextual grounding and how to get results back from these queries. And it seems, from my understanding, that automated reasoning isn't necessarily a replacement for contextual grounding, but it really reinforces the data that you're getting back from these queries.
Right. I think that, and that's good, right? So here, this is where you can take automated reasoning, right, and start to layer that on top of the contextual grounding, on top of some of those other filters and stuff that were mentioned, right? So you can kind of apply kind of multiple guardrails and really make sure that what your chatbot or whatever your solution is doing in terms of how they're answering and the answers that they're providing is really as accurate as possible and as correct as possible, right? That's something that when you're in regulated industries, as was mentioned as an example, even when you're not, right? If we've all had that thing where somebody tells us an answer to something and it's just wrong, right? I was like, oh, somebody's giving me directions to get somewhere, and they go, no, you turn right, you go down here, and then you're in a dead end alley somewhere, right? So then you're upset with that person because they're like, they clearly didn't know where I needed to go. So I think this is another kind of good one here where you can put that in there and pull that together.
For sure.
So with that, though, this is also something I went in and let's pull up. Let me share my screen.
Oh, sure. Take it away.
So what I did here, and this is one of the things is I wanted to start getting started. I wanted to get started with this and give it a try. So one of the things that I don't think they mentioned on the last segment, right, is we've got samples. We've got a repository here to show different samples of things. And of course, we've got some samples here talking about being able to do and how you can apply automated reasoning. There's a whole lot here. So for me, I'm like, I'm not going to get too into the weeds. I'm going to read the article. I'm going to get started. So I jumped in here and I created my own automated reasoning. And I think one of the things, so I did here, this one's some clinical demo stuff. It's one of the samples that I took from this repository. It's a PDF structured document that shows you here. If I can find. Yeah, so there's this sample policy, right? I just took this policy. As you can see, it's a common type of document that we have. This isn't real kind of clinical health stuff, so don't rely on what it tells you. Just an example. I uploaded that document, and then here, it gave me all of these definitions. It gave me all of these annotations. Well, not those annotations. I thought it had some annotations, but so it gave me all these definitions, right? And it gave me all these rules and the variables. That's what I was thinking of here, and started to pull this together. And it was super easy. I literally uploaded the document and it created all of this for me. Now, I have to go through and do some verification, but then the other piece that I was able to do was start generating tests. And it would say here, generate a test. And it's going to come up and it's going to tell, based on what it knows, it's going to suggest, here's a test that we can have for this. I'll say, yep, is this possible or is it not possible? And I'll say, why not? And I might not add or choose to add that test. And one of the things that I want to call out here as well, like I do, as Chris, I do martial arts, right? I train in Taekwondo regularly. And of course, we've got rules and regulations for this. And I was going to be like, let me see if I can take our rules and regulations that are published, throw them in here and see what the automated reasoning comes back with. Unfortunately, it failed. It errored out on me after many, many minutes. And I think, and I didn't get a chance, to troubleshoot it. But I think Wally gave me the answer in that this is limited to like about 80,000 tokens or 100 pages, right? So I realized it's like 150 pages that we have of our document. So I think that's what I was doing, was blowing things out and making it too big.
I love it. Being a part of the show ourselves, we're still informed by the guests who came on earlier.
Absolutely.
It's like meta informative.
Absolutely. So, but again, it's pretty easy, right? You might run into some bumps, but it's super easy to run in here and to start doing that. So I'm really kind of excited about some of these things that we keep rolling out. But I think we got one more that you got coming at us, right?
I got a couple more, but I think that we're short on time. So maybe we should just jump straight into HyperPod real quick.
Yeah, let's get back. And I think, you've got some stuff to share there with that.
I do, yeah. So I myself am still wrapping my head around HyperPod. I know that it's a pretty recent announcement. It was great. Speaking of informative, it was great to attend today and look into that. So I did look on Repost to see what we were able to find. I found this article because Repost, of course, is not just questions. It's also articles from experts. And it was really cool to find this. It's a quick 4-minute read. We'll share the link to this in chat. That's about training jobs versus HyperPod. And maybe like the use cases in which you might want to use one versus the other. What are the new services? What are the new tools? How is this going to change the way in which you're operating? So I found this super useful. I hope that our audience does as well.
Yeah, I like that. And I think this is one, if you scroll down, right, they have that, is it that table of
they have key benefits that they call out,
right?
And for each one too.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I like. That's what I like also about some of the Repost articles that we have. They really bake it down because, again, HyperPod, SageMaker stuff, not my strong suit, not an area that you're not going to ask me questions about it. The automated reasoning is going to tell me my answers are wrong. So go to our experts on Repost, ask your questions there, read our articles there, because they're really where you're going to get your answers from to get started with that.
For sure. And this lastly, the last thing I got here, I'll show off. this isn't a repost, but of course this is very close. We are always on training and certification side, at least where I mainly work, are trying to point people to Skill Builder, since there's a huge library of free resources for you to check out. And if you're not familiar with these things like SageMaker or HyperPod or any of these services, and you would like to get your hands on them without any extra expense to you, that's what Skill Builder is for. So we'll share a link to this that's about building large language models on AWS, where you can actually get your hands onto some of these services and test them out, see if it's something that you're interested in. If you didn't sign up for the recent AWS free tier 2.0 that just launched, where if you start a new account, you have an opportunity to get free $200 in AWS credits by signing up for that. So do a quick Google foo for that and find that and see if that's something that services you. But no better time than now to really get your hands on these services. And if you run into walls and you're not sure where to go next or what to try out next, circle on back to AWS Repost. Got everything you need.
And Nick's in our ear saying we've got to bring back AM and Robbie. But as we do that, because I guess we do have to bring them back, they just don't want to end the show on our wonderful personalities. So let's bring back AM and Robbie. And as we're doing that, the Dark Bite had mentioned there, I see in the comments, right? Yeah, if you go out to GitHub to get to that repo, I think we're dropping the link in chat if we haven't. But if you go over to GitHub, you can see our AWS samples. And if you look for Amazon Bedrock samples, you're going to find the samples here. You can grab that same clinical doc. They've got other samples out there as well that you can use. Oh, hello.
As if, Steven,
how you doing?
Like, whatever. I am totally sure that the audience wants us back because Robbie and I are tubular.
I can't see too good. Is this Legally Blonde over there? What is this? Clueless?
Clueless, please.
Clueless.
If anything, like if we're gonna make any, come on. Clueless is the classic. That's Emma, right? I believe it's based on Emma.
You'd probably know better than I would.
Yeah, as the #1 Clueless fan on this screen right now, probably.
Seemingly.
I don't know, Robbie, though. You like
cheers
Clueless?
To you, Dark Bite.
All you, man.
All me. Wow. Everybody's too afraid to claim their love of Clueless, except me, I'm the bravest one here. So we're here, Steven. Unfortunately for you, even though you didn't want us here, we're back.
Nick made me do it.
Rude Nick. Why would you ever listen to Nick? Also,
I haven't. Yeah, I know. I haven't yet. Right. So today I started.
The audience may not know Nick. Nick is one of the producers, probably the worst producer that we have, but he's one of them. He is technically.
You got disappear. You know why?
Yeah. So he's behind the scenes right now. You may have been talking with him. I wanted to call out. We've been asking you to fill out our survey. I do see in chat that we are out of our $50 credits. However, still fill it out. You still do.
We still want to know what you
still read it. Yeah.
Yeah. We still love you. We still want you to tell us that you love us too.
Put that in the survey. Yeah.
Maybe it's too soon to say that in our relationship audience, but I'm saying it. I told you I'm the bravest one here.
We've been over an hour. I think.
But the automated reasoning check would have come back AM with actually 50 $20 credits, not 20 $50 credits. So just the formal logic didn't tie there, so I just had to call that out quickly. But maybe you can tell us a little bit more about our next exciting episode that we want viewers to tune into.
Yeah,
one of a kind event.
Yeah, we do these shows on Friday, right? So these are focused on all of the things that are latest and greatest, the new things. We have service teams, just like you saw. So first off, if you're just joining us, you missed everything. Wow, I can't.
Still welcome, but
can't believe you missed the entire show. But you can join us next time, or you can watch it on demand, because it will also become a video on demand, or a VOD, as the cool children say. Now, we do this show Fridays at 12 p.m. Pacific. If you're trying to learn AWS or trying to keep up with all the things AWS is doing, it's a great show to watch. We also cover special events. I mentioned at the top of the show, we do things like summits, reinforce, reinvent, but we also have dedicated days. We sometimes call them innovation days. We sometimes don't, but they are special, and they're usually dedicated to a singular topic. One of my favorites that I got to participate in this year was earlier in February. It was the Developer Day. As a developer, I felt right at home there. But we are coming up with an innovation day celebrating the decade of innovation with Amazon Aurora. And that will be happening on August 21st at 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Pacific. There we go. And you can register to get I assume up-to-date information. Yeah, a link to the show. Who knows?
And I know, AM, if you look at the schedule here, you've got a variety of presentations from a number of our senior principal engineers and technologists who built the service itself over the years. And I know they were looking for a keynote speaker, and I heard Nick, gave you a call and you said you weren't available. So then they went to none other than Andy Jassy, the CEO of Amazon, who will be keynoting the event itself. So this is not to miss, but I get it, AM, you were busy. It's cool.
Robbie,
and
Robbie,
that's the order
truth,
I go for speakers with too, is AM and then Andy.
The truth is they couldn't afford me. Could not pay my writer. It's just I'm too
AM just does this for the love.
That's true. Yeah, I don't charge him for this. I kind of do still though. Anyway, yeah, I didn't know that, Robbie.
AM can find his way out of this.
I did not know that Andy would be keynoting. That's pretty incredible.
This is an absolute not miss, folks. Do not miss this this unique innovation day. And we do a number of these live stream events throughout the year to cover various services. But every week that we're here, AWS On Air on Friday, highly recommend you take a look. We covered 3 launches here today. Said hello to our friends at Nvidia. Our friends from AWS Repost brought us home. We're super grateful you tuned in.
Tuesdays for us.
Yeah.
Come check us out on Tuesdays.
Yep.
Oh, hey, if we're doing self promotion here, shameless self plugs. You got a game day show you can come watch with this dude right here. I mean, I don't know why you would want to, but for game day, not for me. But come watch Step Up Your Game Day on the last Thursday of the month at 11 a.m. Pacific. We have one a month.
And I've got nothing to promote myself because I don't have my own show, but I can take us home, folks. Thank you so much for joining us. Work hard, have fun, make history, and we'll see you next time.